Does any member of the council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with regard to any item on the agenda? And if so, please state so at this time.
No.
No?
I do not.
I do not.
Amendment and approval of the draft agenda?
I have nothing to add.
I don't have anything.
I'm good.
I have no changes.
Council discussions?
I don't have anything.
Just one item. Has the site visit for Jaguar's Lair been scheduled with the staff?
No, we sent our dates that we'd be available to Grady so that he can relay those over, but he was out of town, if you'll recall, until yesterday.
Okay.
So he should be getting up with him this week.
All right, thank you.
Public comments on agenda items? Please keep them to 3 minutes per speaker, please. No comments? Okay, old business A, department reports from 10/7.
Let me go first.
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll start off with a little bit of information on the dredging project. As I sent out to y'all last week, when we were notified that DCM has elected to utilize their additional 75-day period for a review. Their letter's short and sweet, with giving no indication as to why they decided to continue on. After last week, they gave us every indication that they would make a decision by Friday of last week, which was their original deadline. The current deadline is now going to be December 24th, 2019. Though they hope, or they do expect the action to take prior to that time, and they'll try to do it their best to get it as soon as possible. This might affect if we can get to the CRC in November, since there's a 6-week deadline out from that meeting to apply for any type of variance should we want to. We don't know that date of that meeting yet, so December 24th could be within that 6-week range to that meeting in February, but we're not sure. So they gave us no reason why they've extended the deadline for their review period, but they within the general statutes, they're allowed to do it, so they've opted to take that additional time. Any questions on that? 'Cause
They don't have to give any reason why?
I read the statute, that they don't have to give a reason. Typically they do, but in this case they didn't.
You know, I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Jinks Creek is one really tidal creek, and it's interconnected with both North and South Jinks Creek that has been somehow created. There's one ecosystem, and I'll say it again. The state is trying to tell us something, and we've been at this for 5 years. Well, we got 2 more extensions, one from the state and one from the federal government. They're trying to tell us something.
Well, the Corps' extension isn't really an extension. They have an opportunity to do their own public review period should they choose to.
I understand that.
So they opted this time for this
I
project to do
understand
that.
that.
So it's not exactly an extension,
I
it's a
understand
separate
that.
process.
This program would have been completed if Jinks Creek was removed from the project. That's all I'm saying. 5 years.
North Jinks Creek has not been part of the permit application process, and we made a decision to separate it from the permit application process a couple of years ago. You know, they may have reasons for delaying. I don't know what those reasons are. I do have a suggestion, though, that we take that letter and post it prominently on the website under the dredging program where you have the Corps of Engineer notices. That way people can find it easily and see for themselves what it says.
Still related to the dredging, speaking with Robert Neal last week, we left it fastest course possible to get us to the permit and to the variance. He has reached out to several oceanfront property owners. Based on his discussions, it's not going well. So we're leaning towards possibly seeing if we can find an upland site for storage of the beach-compatible sand, since we're not allowed to dispose of it until we can find a use for it, or someone else that would like to at least partner with it or take it. We are going to try to reach out to a few other beaches to see if they'd like to join in and get the obvious choice would be Ocean Isle Beach, because it could be hydraulically dredged there, and then they could spread it themselves. We wouldn't have to take it to an upland site. But should we have to go to an upland site, we'll be looking for people, of course, to incur the expense of coming down and getting the sand and taking it themselves. We wouldn't be delivering it to them. But those are our options at this point. That's what we're leaning towards, based on the fact that several people have recently said they will not give the easement over for the pipe or for the sand.
Can we get a cost analysis of each option? Is that possible?
We can try. The factors in this that will be hard to describe will be how far we have to truck it, depending on where we can find somewhere that we can store it. We're basically talking about 400 more truckloads going back and forth at least. So hopefully a closer spot than not. I'm going to put a call into FEMA. We do have a FEMA buyout property from several years ago that if we have to use as a temporary site, I just don't think it's large enough. But that would at least give us a chance to put some of it somewhere closer to the town and not have to incur a greater expense. But I'm not sure if that's even a possibility yet. I'm just throwing that out there, that I've got to get in touch with FEMA to ask them.
Well, if South Jinks Creek, if the state decides not to dredge South Jinks Creek, there's no sand.
That would be correct.
I'd just like to say one thing. It's because the town of Sunset Beach is why we're not being dredged. And the 4 or 5 or 10 radicals in this town that write the letters to these organizations to put it on hold. Other towns that had similar situations have been dredged already. So let's be honest to people of Sunset Beach. It's the 10 or 15 people writing letters and delaying this program. It's councilmen on this council that was for dredging and then wrote to the grant people not to give us a grant.
Point of order.
All right. We're talking about dredging again and things that we don't have any control over. We don't know what the permit is, or even if we're going to get a permit. We're getting way ahead of ourselves again.
I've been asked to speak regarding a few complaints we received this weekend regarding, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this word, but water hyacinth. It's a type of flower. Flower/weed, depends on your outlook on it. Some people like it for decoration, some people don't. It is an invasive species in North America. Apparently in Twin Lakes there's a mass bloom of it currently. They've reached out to the town to ask us for help in maintaining or help assisting getting rid of the plant species. The lakes are private property. We don't have any interest in them that I'm aware of, but we are doing the research because apparently there was a question of that 10 years ago or so, whether the town had some responsibility or not. So we're looking into a backlog of stuff. I'd like to have more information for you, but we just found some records, yesterday, about 3. So we haven't been able to go through everything. At this point, my professional opinion is it's private property and it's private owners next to that have an issue with it. We might be able to do something under our code enforcement ordinances with weed growth on adjoining properties within 100 feet of a house, but I'm not sure where we have a monetary interest in it, so to speak, and that's what they're asking for is fiscal assistance.
Well, the water hyacinth grows on the water, right?
Right.
Not on the banks.
From my research, that's what I've been able to tell. It can grow up to about a foot above the water, but it spreads out, and I don't think it goes into land.
I'll take some. I have a pond in Butner. I'd like to have some.
Harm, what's the issue? I mean, why are they complaining about it?
Well, apparently it can choke out other plant species and some wildlife. There's some dispute about whether wildlife utilizes it for nutrition or not, but I think it's just, I don't really know the full complaint other than the fact that it is an invasive species and it's not really native to the area and it can choke out local fauna and flora.
Geese love it.
Well, a lot of, it does, invertebrates will live in its roots. So any invertebrate eaters will go there to root out food. However, like I said, it will choke out native species of plants and some animals who don't consume it, and it'll choke out what they do consume. So I think that's the issue, is all ecological. So we can do further research on what we can do, but I'd rather approach it from a code enforcement issue and see if the property owners are willing to work together on it before we explore any sort of other assistance.
Is there any county or state agency that can assist?
I haven't
You
got
know,
that
the
far.
bloom, the photos that got sent out, the bloom spreads massively, very rapidly, and
Yeah, it's my understanding, Hiram, that the property owners were called the North Carolina Agricultural
Probably
Commission.
cooperative extension.
Yeah, so I don't know which government agency would handle something like that.
But we can talk to cooperative extension to get an idea, and they'll do most of the stuff like that around here. But like I said, I don't have a clue on how you actually would want to get rid of this stuff, or even if the property owners would want to get rid of it. Because like I said, some people do like the look of it and use it as an ornamental feature. So I think best for us would be to reach out and see if there's interest in people working together, because basically you have to remove this stuff physically to get rid of it and compost it, or you run the risk of it just blooming back. Chemical treatments will pretty much kill off everything else too. So, like I said, my research is limited to Saturday through yesterday, so I'm not an expert on this.
Yeah, they could also petition the owner of the lakes.
Right. Like I said, we can assist in that, and if we have to go through the code enforcement action, but I mean, I'd rather facilitate a conversation first. But I don't see where it's.
Is this something new or just gotten so out of hand?
I think it's just out of hand. You can look at aerials photos from the last several years, and you can see in this patch where the person complaining is right behind their house, I believe. You can see it grow one year, shrink another year, then explode up. So I think it's just it's caught in. It had a nice bloom, and it's just
Where's it native to?
South America regions and
Amazon.
Amazon regions. So I mean, it is pretty, but I mean,
But
But
the
I-
ornamental side usually goes in small, controlled, contained ponds,
Yeah.
where the idea is to have that bloom and that foliage pretty much cover the pond,
yeah,
rather than having it spread out to potentially cover the whole lake.
yeah. Essentially, what I've seen, the only fish that'll eat this plant is a goldfish. So we're not talking like stocked fishing ponds eating this stuff out. So we'll keep an eye on what we can do. We'll keep researching it. I just don't, unless y'all want to hold it full on agenda item, make a decision about a budget amendment for some fiscal assistance. I think we should approach it more from a social standpoint first and try to get the property owners to be responsible for their property.
I agree.
Yeah, if there is a financial aspect to it, we would kind of need estimates in terms
Yeah.
of what we're dealing with.
And that's also what we're researching, because there's a claim that we used to do some type of financial assistance, so we're going back through all the budgets and everything, trying to figure out if that's true or not.
On this particular issue or
Yeah, well, I don't know for the plants, but it was
in
for
general?
something with the ponds in general. Back,
Well, those ponds are owned by the Gore family, correct?
well, on the tax card, it's Two Lakes LLC, but yeah, I believe that's under Door. Let's see here. Good news. Good news. Our Living Shoreline, the Coastal Federation came out to do a inspection of it. They cracked open a few bags. They're thriving with oysters and mud crabs and all that kind of, and reef dwelling organisms. The oyster domes are also thriving. The plants that were existing prior are thickening and growing. The new ones planted, they won't know until next spring if they start to sprout fully or not, but they're under the impression that there may be another planting needed, just to help flesh it out some more. And we do have enough leftover domes and oyster bags to possibly do an extension of the reef around the non-riprap portions of the park. So that project is very well cemented and working as intended and growing.
Would we need a new permit to do the extension?
We'd have to get a new permit. but it won't be as involved as last time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
because
we have
won't-
materials and we have trained volunteers.
Right, but last time we were also next to the Marys and Turtles Creek dredge areas, which limited our ability to lay out where we were going. If we wrap it around slightly, the only thing we're dealing with is a major permit, because we'll be going closer into the intercoastal waterway as we go around the park edge. But I believe we've noticed diminished erosion, which is what this reef seal is there for in the first place. And like I said, are the biologicals back in the area, so it looks healthy. So that's a good thing. Also, Todd's not in here, so Todd and I have been working with NCDOT to help secure an additional parking for overflow at the park during the special events. At first, we were approached trying to use under the bridge next to Mr. Holden's parking area and the fishing pier parking. Not possible because it's their storm drain system, a lot of it for the bridge. But on the other side of the road, next to the fire department, public works area, there are some open grass spaces where during overflow events, there's still some more details to work out, but it's looking favorable that we can start using that area to park additional cars in, as long as it's attended. So we can have the special event people attend it and direct people where to go, and just open it up just for overflow parking, like market days, plausibility. The ones where we see people lined down the highway pretty much make it a little bit safer. So DOT is going to work with us on that, helping us open that up a little bit.
Great job on that.
Well, Todd started that, but since he's not
Well,
in here, I'll take the credit.
Tell Todd.
That's all I got. Until
That's it?
John and Dustin get up here.
Okay, stormwater, John?
Good morning. So in the report this time, we have some additional work that we're doing. You know that in April, we did a project between Shoreline Drive East and Azalea. There was a 10-foot drainage easement. After installation of that project, in observation of what's going on, there's additional work that needs to be done on both sides of it. We're going to have to cross under Azalea Drive with a catch basin and pipe, and do some additional work also on the west side of it because of the amount of groundwater and surface water that's being captured by what we put in there. So that's what the first bullet point is, just additional improvements in that area. We repaired the sinkhole on 2nd Street, as y'all know, and when we had it opened up, that pipe in that area where the sinkhole was is very deep, maybe 8 to 10 feet, and we observed some failures in the pipe going north that we didn't replace. That's just to say that, and it's on the slate, on the schedule to do additional improvements in 3rd, 2nd, and 1st Street there, and it will definitely need it. So that's just a FYI. During Dorian, we had a stormwater outlet road failure on Planters Ridge Road that's been repaired. We'll need to go back and do some asphalt patching when it's stabilized, but that's been taken care of. The DE1, which is a drainage easement project as part of this in the capital improvement plan, is, I say underway, is for the most part complete. There's still some additional erosion control and plantings that we'll have to do. And I can, at this point in time, safely report that not everybody is happy with that project, to say the least. It's been decades, since that particular 30-foot wide easement has been maintained and trees removed to make sure we have proper drainage. And in the process of doing that, we eliminated a lot of privacy and even some incidental taking of some plantings that might have been right on the line there for the drainage easement and the private property. But we're working through all that. I just wanted to make you aware that I think it's overall a good improvement for the drainage in that area and for the long-term health of that drainage way. But not necessarily everybody was entirely happy with the outcome at this point in time.
As we move forward with the easements back here,
Mm-hmm.
let's pay a little bit more closer attention to some of the survey staking,
Mm-hmm.
just in case so we can prevent some of that from happening. But do you foresee any other areas where it's as dense as it was back there?
There's quite a few drainage easements that are extremely overgrown.
All right, so,
Yeah, so what happened here is, we put in a culvert pipe, and without getting into a lot of detail, because you don't have a picture of it or a plan view of it. It's a 30-foot wide easement, and we set it up with a new culvert pipe so we could access it routinely with a tractor and a boom mower, so we could maintain the area.
Where does that water drain to?
Everything drains right behind Dollar General into that tidal creek that goes into the waterway.
Is that water now cleaner going into that?
I'm not sure the water's cleaner now, but I believe it enables us to provide a good way for it to infiltrate as much water as possible by maintaining an open swale in that area.
So you're preventing some of the water from going into the,
That's correct, some of the water, and mainly we're preventing a lot of the storm water from going in under people's houses. That's what was happening before.
right?
So, in addition to that, yes.
and the ponding,
Yeah, and the ponding, right.
so it should hopefully help with some mosquito growth too.
Could you explain, on that particular project, on your chart, on your second page, you have that project, DE1, as H/C, which means some of it is in-house and some of it is contractor. The estimated cost, actual cost, how much of this are you and the DPW staff doing, and how much of it is to what extent is this being contracted out?
Right. The bulk of it was contracted out. You can see the cost there for that. And the status should be, for the most part, substantially complete. But back to your question, we're doing follow-up work, a lot of erosion control, things of that nature. We're put out seed and matting to try to get the ground stabilized as quickly as possible, is what our role has been so far.
For the town roll?
Correct.
Okay. And when you get down to DE4, the next one on your list there, also Azalea Magnolia, I guess that's a little bit further down the road?
Correct.
Okay, and that one's coming up soon?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
John, just a quick question regarding the Planters Ridge failure. Is that the new part of Planters Ridge, or is that the older section? I'm just curious.
Good question. New Planters Ridge or old? Is that the question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, there were new,
I don't know if there was a new or old, are you talking about newly accepted by us, or, because it's all done at one time, the road itself was
yeah,
installed.
is this the new, I mean, they've had some development back there at Planters Ridge. There's, I guess, a new section. I'm just concerned, I mean, if we're having stormwater failures, is this the new area, or is this the older portion of that area?
It'd be north of the Calabash Creek, new in that regard, I think.
Well,
So governed under
as
state
far as
storm.
the new housing developments and stuff, that's not what, it's not related to this part of it.
Are you
That's what you're getting at. This
No,
is,
I'm
this,
just
the
trying to
road,
flush-
the road itself has been there for years.
Yeah.
Are you referring to Brookwood, that side of Planters Ridge? The develop that's putting in the side of Planters Ridge called Brookwood Develop?
Well, it says here, stormwater outlet failure, road damage. Now, is the road a town road, or
Yes.
is it
Yes.
belong to Citrus? So
No,
it's a town road?
Yes,
But it's their stormwater.
yes.
Correct.
But it's their stormwater?
It's their stormwater, but for this instance where it's under the road, we're taking care of our problem, our issue so that we don't have any more road failure.
Right. Okay.
But this isn't because of like the development over there where Brookwood and all that. This is just the road itself and the other alleged issues of stormwater that Sea-Trail's been having for years.
All right, who takes care of the alleged issues of the stormwater?
That's their maintenance and their subdivision under their permit.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to flesh out.
And the state has been made aware of
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir. And then the final item there is, or I don't have it on here, 4th Street. We've been doing some work with the vac truck and some camera work as well, but the catch basins that are on Main Street East around 4th Street, we've been working and still are today, cleaning the catch basins and the pipe underneath the road there. And it was completely clogged. I mean, it was top to bottom, fine material, and so we're slowly but surely working through that. And then if you look at the page, the table there about the projects, where it says 32nd Street outfall, that contract has been awarded. It says it's out for bid, but it's actually been awarded now, as well as West Main and 28th Street, that additional work on drainage easement to Duncan Place, which is already complete. This is a report from last week, obviously. Duncan Place has been completed, and Rice Mill Creek, I'm hoping the end of next week, the beginning of the following, will start that project and then roll right into 28th Street or 32nd Street and 28th Street.
Is Rice Mill Creek where that large tree fell down
Yes,
into
sir.
the pond?
Yes, sir.
Is that part of the issue, or does
No,
somebody else
it's-
have to, who
it's-
takes care of that tree?
That's private property there.
Okay, so they have to pull it out and,
Correct.
okay, are they doing that?
I've talked to the owner, and they were asking me for feedback about who to call to do that, and I gave them, a few numbers, but I'm not sure what the status of that is right now. But there's a large culvert pipe underneath that road right there that failed, and we're gonna replace 2 of them. They're the same vintage, but while we're in the closing the road up, we're gonna go ahead and place the 2 old ones.
Thank you.
With aluminum pipe, yes, sir.
And John, that was a Dorian
Dorian, that's
issue.
correct.
What about Cobia?
Cobia,
At the end of it where we
the bulkhead?
bulkhead in the backfield. 'cause you
Yeah,
talked
another, right, you know about the bulkhead that failed at the end of Cobia. The town, we've backfilled that now, and within the right-of-way, with the soil. So that's been taken care of.
Yeah.
about,
Isn't there still a hole there, though?
There,
yeah, but we're also talking to Cam about a weep system to try to help stabilize at our bulkheads where we have the right of way out.
Yeah.
Any hydrostatic pressure, which should help alleviate if there's any issue from that in the future. But as far as everything else is going, I mean, it's backfilled, but it's not going to stay probably.
Yeah. The hole that there, it looks like it's right on the edge between the road easement and the property that's there?
Mhm.
And are we working with the owner to get all of that patched up?
Not yet. but we
If that
would
hole
reach out, but
if that hole
decided-
stays there, the next storm or whatever comes up is gonna wash away under the road.
We have spoken to CAMA, and I believe the property owners have too, according to the CAMA representatives talking to us. And I know we've given out information for a contractor to help assist with the repairs. I know CAMA was also, because of Dorian issues, the permit costs are non-existent. But we did a stopgap real quick on this one, just to go ahead and backfill the part so there'd be no road damage.
Okay. So it's still a problem in progress.
Well, there's a lot of problems in progress up and down. This one just relates to us.
Yeah.
There's 4 or 5 different failures of the bulkhead on both sides of that canal. Property owners have been notified. Whether they've started their work procedures or not, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we require them to fix those bulkheads? Is there a time limit? Or
The UDO does require the property owners to maintain and repair bulkheads and docks.
there's no
But, I mean,
days, you have this many days to do it, or could he wait till next year?
Since this has been storm damage, unless Todd's going to implement the code enforcement action to require him to get it done, it's usually at least started an action plan within 10 days of notification. And like I said, with CAMA, we can't say it'll be 30 days or we're going to take action. We got to wait and make sure they get through their permit process. So it's not really in our hands to give a deadline on that. It won't be a year. If action hasn't been taken long enough, they'll start getting civil penalties until they start taking action. But we got to give them enough time to get their ducks in a row, if they have to get an engineer because CAMA says they do, get all that lined up. So there's timeframes that we can't be responsible for when it comes to that.
Any warranty on these bulkheads that are failing?
Not that I'm aware of. Usually what happens is when the developer's done with the development and the property owner takes over the property, that usually comes part and parcel with their property and the developer's done with it.
That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dustin, Public Works.
Talk about the 4th Street real quick.
Okay, for 4th Street, we had the email about the material that was placed on 4th Street. It's marl, and it's the same material. Well, this time of year I use ABC, but in the past we've always used the marl, and it's the same.
Little background in case,
Yeah.
I don't know if all y'all got emails regarding this.
You-
You all did? Okay. Apparently, one of the property owners on the street is complaining about the dust. We gave out the MDS sheet, and, this is an approved road material. This is on every other road that's not paved on the island. Except for, you were getting ready to say that you used a larger material this time, right?
Yeah, I used ABC, a little bit more bigger rock, maybe try to cut down on the dust just to test it out to see how it would do. But with the marl, it's the same material that's been used for years, all the way back when Larry Krim was here, when he overseen the maintenance of the roads, using the same type of stuff on all the roads.
Is it a health risk?
It's hard. I'm not really qualified. None of us are really qualified to say that. All I can say is like it is. It is an approved road material that is approved for use as a road material. It's meant to be driven on. Now, should people be speeding down it and kicking up dust? No, but everyone's going to do that when they drive down it. I followed a truck down the other day that kicked no dust up. I followed another one the other morning when I was looking at the 4th Street house to see if any work had been done on a cleanup job over there, and it was just everywhere a cloud of, looked like smoke. They were driving so fast through there. So I don't really think it's the road material. I think it's the behavior of people. I don't know if it's a health hazard or not. I'm not qualified to answer that. We are, however, experimenting through stormwater on 10th Street, the use of a different type of road material to help cut down on infiltration or sedimentation into the water canals. And Dustin's got some numbers worked up for that, but we don't know life expectancy of that material. We don't know if it's actually doing a better job. We just know there's no dust associated with it. However, my experience with that same material is the longer it sits there and over time gets settled down, crushed up a little bit, then dust does start forming.
Yeah.
So,
Is there any interest in the property owners paving the road?
we've given that information out, but we don't know if they've tried going door to door or not. But if you want to cover that material type, I can.
Yeah, the person that made the complaint, I've told him about the process about paving, that he can come and get the paperwork, but I don't think or anybody from that road has come in to get the paperwork to start that.
There's a misconception that the town was going to pave the roads on the island at some point. And that was never actually
No.
something that was ever developed or listed out. But I think that they're under the impression that they should have been paved years ago by town action.
But the town has never paved the road.
Not like that.
No, not a lot of that. But like Hiram was talking about, on 10th Street, they, for the stormwater or that, we put the 57 slate down. And we looked at the price for this here if we wanted to do 4th Street with 57 slate, roughly take about 5 loads, it'd be $6,700 just to do that one road in 57 slate. Now that is, with that material, we don't know how it's going to work, how it's going to act under traffic loads. And plus we would have to get another piece of attachment, another piece of equipment for me to use to grade that, because with what I've got that we use for grading the roads, it won't work on that. So we will have to look at other options of different equipment to grade that and level that out.
So what are you doing on 10th Street now? Is it not needed grading? It's only 2 houses long, so it's not a long street.
Yeah, it's not a long street, so you don't get that much traffic. We don't know. We're just evaluating right now to see how it works.
Plus, it was just laid out over the summer.
Yeah, it really ain't had much
He doesn't,
traffic.
he'll grade the roads once a year
Yeah,
at best, so it's, if the road doesn't need it, he'll skip it. So we don't know if this material may hold up 2 years, where
We don't
you're
know.
grading every other year now, replacing and grading.
yeah, we put marl down every other year on all the roads and regrade them, everything. Well, I regrade them every year, but I place the marl down every other year.
What's the marl cost for Fourth Street?
It would be 5 loads, $400 a load, would be $2,000 to do that road in the marl.
So roughly around a third of what the
Yes.
slate would cost, a little bit
Yes.
less. Yeah.
Now, if the slate lasts 3 times longer, then it's a wash.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We can do an experiment at come budget time and plan for it for something for next year. Any action this year would require a budget amendment and a little bit more prep and study.
Plus, you also need rain to help this stuff settle in, correct? We haven't had any rain.
No, yeah, it's been dry. Yeah, we need some rain.
Is grading that slate a special process? I mean, I'm obviously not an engineer or anything like that, but running a grade over dirt tomorrow seems a pretty straightforward process, but when you're moving rocks, essentially what the slate is.
Yeah, we would have to look at a different attachment to go on the tractor or a different equipment, something with a bucket behind it with wheels on it so you can adjust it, so you can move the rock like that.
So for now, nothing on 4th Street.
Not unless
No,
y'all
no.
want to go through the agenda item for budget amendment and everything like that, which we don't have a problem preparing. It's just, it's not budgeted for this year. We're going
No.
to come back at budget time to talk about a few extra roads to test this out on for starting next year, or next fiscal year.
Yeah.
Would it be wise to start on one this year and see what, if it works, do it next year?
That's-
If y'all like, we can come back at the next meeting with a budget amendment and a plan of action.
I think we should put on the budget amendment just to see how this would act on one road.
It's on 10th Street, right?
Well, it's on 10th Street, but you got to remember the use, there'll be, if we did do this on 4th Street, we'd be able to study a lot faster how it's going to hold up, what it's going to do, stormwater mechanic wise, road wise, complaint wise, based on people walking down it in the summertime if they're barefoot, going to the beach.
Yeah, they're not gonna like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that 10th Street's not going to tell us. 10th Street was a exercise in trying to stop sediment from going right there into the canal.
Right.
It's just, this is a happy coincidence that it may work in another department for another reason. 10th Street was solely a stormwater experiment. And not a lot of traffic drives in between Storm Street, not a lot of foot traffic. It's not really an experimental, is this gonna work kind of area.
How many roads, dirt roads, do we have left on the island that if that slate 57 works, that we would be talking about in the future?
Plenty. Dustin's got a list of all of them right there with him.
Uh,
Ten,
20.
20?
Of all varying lengths and
Well,
widths, so.
Yeah, you got the side, you got the small streets, and you got the
Yeah.
markets, dolphin, sailfish,
And
different
you got
lengths.
the
Hi,
Fish
is
Street.
is this
There's
something that?
10 of them, there's 10 streets that's basically the same length as 4th Street.
And then all the rest of them are smaller,
The other
shorter.
ones is a little bit shorter,
Yeah.
yes.
A good experiment would be 28th Street.
Could this be a project for the ERC to look into this and get some, have them study it and get some recommendations?
I'd say from the stormwater angle, sure.
Yeah,
I'd say that'd be in their wheelhouse.
I think this would be a good startup project for them. That's just a suggestion.
Not for paving.
Not, but from the stormwater aspect, yeah, it'd be a very, yeah, as far as what we're discussing
Yeah.
on this part, I mean, 6 1/2 dozen the other.
So,
Yeah, I'd like to
wouldn't
get
it-
more information on it, I really
Yeah.
would, and the cost and,
We would too. I mean,
Yeah.
this is just us
Yeah.
cobbling stuff together
Yeah.
in a day.
all right.
I would kind of like to see the framework of a plan to do one test street, you know, so with a test street, then the ERC would have something to actually be looking at and evaluating
Yeah.
over time.
No, fine.
Um,
Excellent,
Or, as well as the staff looking at and evaluating over time.
excellent.
They're having their kickoff meeting next week. We can approach it with them on that. In the meantime, for the November meeting, we can come back with an action plan to look at one street and give you some relative costs and what it might take for us to do this work.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm happy with that, that's
All right.
fine, thank you.
Okay, with Dorian, with the hurricane, we approximately moved 113 loads, approximately 2,811 cubic yards of debris was removed during the storm. Also, with the bathroom next to the gazebo is out for maintenance, and it's going to be out for a good while. And there's a lot of work that I've got to do to that bathroom, the one that sits at the gazebo. But there is the one at Main Street that is there, that we put back.
You already restored that one or
Yeah,
repaired it for
yeah,
for next
we
season?
worked, well, not for next season.
Yeah.
I got to pull it off and work through it too. I
Okay.
do one at a time.
Which one are you replacing this year?
The one next to the gazebo.
Okay.
But we're gonna wait till first of the year, so we'll be, when we order it, so it'll be brand new when it comes in for the season. So it'll be new when we put it out there.
And we're getting a lot of complaints because it's not at the
I
gazebo.
do.
People don't want to walk across the parking lot. But
Yeah.
this one really was, it was messed
Yeah,
up
but-
before the storm.
Yeah,
Can you exchange the one at Main Street to that one? It doesn't
No.
hook up the right way?
no, because the doors are opposite way.
Okay.
Yeah, so it wouldn't work. No.
So the one that's in for repair is the one at the gazebo, and that's also the one we're gonna replace
Yes.
in 6 months.
Yes. But I do some work to it before we put it back.
And then what are we gonna do with that when the new one comes in?
I don't know. I don't,
Recycle.
I'm gonna strip it as much as I can for parts, for the other ones, for the other bathrooms. I'm gonna try to salvage as much as I can. And, fire department, use it for training. I don't know. We have several options. I don't know what we do with it.
You watch how fast it can go
Yeah,
up.
yeah, I don't know. Smokehouse, I don't know.
Can you talk about the striping in C-Trail real quick?
Well, with the striper, we done had some striper done last month in Sea Trail. We're doing all of Clubhouse Road from Shoreline Drive West all the way to Georgetown. And we're doing all the Crooked Gully from Clubhouse all the way back around to Clubhouse that we redone.
We didn't get the clubhouse extension part that comes off of Maples, which we also, by the way, the county's requested that we end up renaming because it's basically 2 clubhouse roads in C-Trail then. So I need to come back to y'all for a renaming
Yeah.
for that. But Dustin's gonna try to get that striped the next time we do the other striping of the repaving this year.
Yeah, and when I do the scheduling for in the spring for the paving for the roads in Sea Trail, we'll put that on there about restriping that also.
Well, let me get back to this bathroom. We don't have a bathroom there now, and we're fixing it,
Yeah.
right? We're repairing it, and then we're gonna replace it.
Yeah, it needs some work before, I know you say, well, we were gonna replace it while we're doing some maintenance to it, but it's.
In the winter, that's
yeah.
what I'm talking about, is, you know, we're gonna,
I had a plugged line, and we had to go into the wall to take the line out of the wall because it was filled with hair and sand where the women are washing their hair in the sink and clogging it up. So we had where a hole was cut in the wall, we had to go back in the wall and pull the line out.
The primary reason is those are the bathrooms everybody wants.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the
The-
main one.
even
yeah,
if
I
the-
understand that, I
even
just
in the
didn't wanna put
wintertime.
in
Even, yeah,
$10,000
No,
into something that we're
it's
gonna
not that
take
kind
out
of-
in 2 months.
No,
No.
it's just labor involved in fixing the
Yeah.
stuff. It's minuscule costs.
yeah.
Okay.
It's just a matter of, there's 4 people in that department. He can't put everybody to work on it to get it back there faster while he's doing everything else.
Dustin, when do you plan on having it back?
Hopefully by the end of next month. Hope to have it back. Put everything back together.
Then you pull off the other one, the Main Street one,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, then we'll pull that one off,
Do
do
the
it.
servicing on that to get it ready for the season.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Also, I'll be shutting down, looking at Thursday, if the weather's permitting, shutting down 13/18/1402 beach access to start repair work on it also,
Thursday?
Thursday, if weather's permitting.
No, Dustin, I noticed there's stakes on 39th and 40th Street. What is those for?
I had Cameron to go out there last week to mark where the Tour of Doom was at, so we would know how far we can go out with the walkway, and where the 6 foot would start at the Tour of Doom, so we know how far we could go.
Seems like you can go out a little bit farther than we thought, right?
Well, the toe, there's the, going to the toe, and then the new rules allow us to extend 6 feet past that. So, with the accretion of dunes, not beach, dunes, that pushes that out further every year for us. But now that new rule of the 6 foot's where it really comes in, but they took the aggregate measure of the vegetation to find where that toe of the dune was. So it looks a little bit further than you would think it would, because you wouldn't really consider that toe because the vegetation's further back.
On the back, yeah.
But they're looking at the longer strand picture, not just the immediate, when they mark the toe. So we'll be able to go a little bit further out and hopefully keep the ramp at 40th.
Yes,
You still have to go to the right with the ramp?
yes.
Okay.
Maybe go to the right.
And depending on how wide our easements are there, we may have to secure property owner permission.
And that's all?
Good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. Chief Paul?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't have anything specific on the report to address unless anybody has any questions. Mainly, I just wanted to speak about the last month or so. We've had several fire responses that we've been to. I've sent out a couple emails and tried to update Facebook, but I know Mr. Marziano can speak of the one we assisted Calabash in September 15th. Pretty good sized garage fire that both Calabash and our crews did a great job containing that.
They did.
We've also been back in Sandpiper a couple times. One, there was a vehicle fire in the back of the Sandpiper Bay community. I know I got a couple phone calls and questions about what was going on back there, but that was a vehicle fire, and that vehicle was a total loss. Also on the 23rd of September, we had a fire on Live Oak, a mobile home fire back here. Luckily, the person was awake when that fire started, and when we showed up, the front of the residence and the deck was on fire, but there was no working smoke alarms in that residence. So one thing that I want to stress with all of these, and I got a couple other examples, is smoke alarms are very important in every residence. If somebody needs help with them or needs one, call the firehouse and we'll help them out. Also, October 9th, we responded to Sandpiper Bay again, to the clubhouse. There was a fire alarm there, and ended up being a fire in the lower level, the cart barn. Sprinkler system activated, alarm system activated as appropriate, but we also had to extinguish a fire down there. And we had all our mutual or automatic aid departments assisted with that, and got out of there pretty quickly. Then a couple hours later on 34th Street, we had a fire in a lower level storage area that the residents aren't year-round residents there, but they were there that day, and they were alerted to the fire by smoke alarms. So smoke alarms, again, worked in that scenario, alerted the occupants. They called 911. We got there quickly and put the fire out. Chief Claymar's officers also got there and actually found the fire on the lower level before the fire truck got there, so they were able to go right to it. No injuries, smoke damage, obviously throughout. But all in all, the crews performed well, and the training we've done is certainly paying off with making things fast. Any questions?
Sounds like a busy stretch of time. Is that this unusual number of fires, or
I don't know if unusual
don't know
is-
what unusual is?
The one thing I've learned over the course of my career so far is the unpredictability of fire. Planning, training on our end, and being able to deal with different things is important, but also putting a lot of work on the front end with fire prevention and educating the public to hopefully prevent them. You know, it's a,
I have one question. Department training hours, 7:26. What type of training? I know it's continuous, but
yeah, that's everything from company drills. They got the crews that are on duty every day. They have to do training, and we have a calendar, and it's everything from pulling hose lines to search and rescue to EMS training to water rescue training. Several that we have coming up. There's a resident that has a house on the island that they're gonna hopefully, we're still working it out, but we're gonna be able to train in. And stretch hose lines before the house gets demoed, so that's coming up in the next couple weeks, but I'll shoot you all an email letting you know when that's going on. Coming up, we're going to North Myrtle Beach's training burn building to get some live fire training. That's in November. Also have a evaluation strategies class for officer development coming up, so it's everything, all kinds of stuff.
Anything else, Paul?
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Mayor,
Yes.
Todd's got a 10 o'clock meeting with some citizens.
Okay, you
Is it
want
okay
to
if we
switch
skip
that
to
one
him real
around?
quick? Yeah.
Come on up, Todd.
All right. I guess first off, just to touch base back on the bulkhead issue, we did see the first repair permit come in last week. They just gotten their CAMA permit, so I think we'll start seeing those come in. If we don't hear, certainly code enforcement option would be the obvious next step to make sure that those do get repaired in a timely manner. So we've given them enough time here since Dorian to get moving, so we'll stay on top of that. So over the last month, at the last planning board meeting, we did approve the planning board did approve the sanctuary by Bill Clark Homes, which was the back portion here between Angels Trace and Seaside Drive for the 363 single-family homes. So that was recently approved. They still have a couple more permits that they have to get from the state before they get moving on the first phase of clearing, which I wouldn't anticipate until sometime after the first of the year. The planning board also voted to move forward with a couple text amendments. One to conform with the new general statutes that was passed back in July, which required the removal of minimum house size requirements from the zoning ordinances or UDOs anywhere in the state of North Carolina. They also looked at updating the fence ordinance for oceanfront fences in town, as well as reviewing the town stormwater ordinance to look at options on how to make it a little more, I won't say stricter, but to clean it up, make it more user-friendly, make it more advantageous to the neighbors, the community, something that's going to be a bigger benefit to the overall stormwater picture in the town. So we're still in those discussions. In fact, this Thursday, they'll be looking at another rendition that Mr. Michaud and I have been working on. We did, at the TRC meeting this past week, 2 weeks ago, looked at a new subdivision that was brought in for H&H Homes inside the town limits off of Seaside Drive for a 108-lot subdivision on 55 acres, or a little less than 55 acres. And then the town also has received notification that we were recertified for our CRS in the community rating system. Other than that, we've still been talking with other folks who are interested in doing some development. As part of the meetings I was in this morning, some folks looking at developing some property, some of the larger tracts in Sea Trail. I've talked to the representatives there. So they're kind of moving forward on that and anticipating some things in that regard. So we'll see what shakes out with those developments. That being said, it's been a pretty steady month, pretty average month, permitting wise, 14 new single-family homes. The department's been busy, the inspectors have been wrapped up pretty good with all the development that's taking place. There's quite a few new homes being built on the island, as well as definitely an uptick of construction on the lots, the vacant lots over here on the mainland side. So we've got a pretty good hold on everything. Everything's going smoothly. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Real quick, that H&H Homes subdivision, can you explain to people where that's at?
That is just this side of Sunset Ridge. As you're coming back towards the post office, there's a 55-acre tract of land. If you're familiar with the Sunset Commons apartment complex, it's all the property around that complex. That vacant land there, where it's just basically a field with trees in it right now.
Yeah, and nothing in that plan, for people's knowledge, real quick, it'll be abutting the street. It's further back in,
Right.
like the apartments themselves are.
How do they get access?
They will be, their plan right now that they brought us to TRC was a new street that will access the community, as well as an interconnection to, I guess it's called Sunset Commons
Yeah, the
Parkway.
existing private road.
They'll do an interconnection there.
That's
Off
in,
904? Off 904?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
that's in the ATJ,
No, that's actually in the town limits.
in the town limits?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. What was I gonna say?
You want to speak to any of the low-income rumors and questions going around
Sure.
about with all this development?
There has been a lot of talk out there since our Teza Village apartments have been approved, about, I guess the term that keeps coming up is Section 8 housing. There really, in North Carolina, in the country, there isn't no Section 8 housing anymore. It's more of a subsidized housing, if you will. I think there's a minimum, and I'm not an expert in this by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't get involved with it because it's not something that we can legally make decisions based on, but the way I understand it is, if you're a retiree on Social Security and getting some sort of check, you would qualify for this program. I know that from what I've been told, there's a couple, say, retired teachers that have already been interested in moving to this project. They have already constructed their construction entrance off Angels Trace Road. That is completed, and they're waiting on, I think, one more permit from the state before they can get in there and start clearing the rest of the property. I'd have to go check the paperwork. I'm not exactly aware because I don't review how much of the project is for subsidized incomes. But there is some paperwork that was submitted to the state. It might be just a percentage of the property, it might be the entire property. I don't anticipate that.
Todd, can you find that out for us?
Yes, I can.
It's in their state financing request. I believe it was, I want to say it was only 12 units.
That seems right. Like it was somewhere
It's
like
got to be
a
a certain
10 or
percentage of the
15%.
number of units that they use. But as far as the other developments are concerned, I mean, single family.
Oh, no,
duplex.
Arteza Village is the only one that there's been that's used any kind of financing tools that are out there that require any kind of subsidized housing, if you will. The Bill Clark projects, Sunset Ridge, as well as the Sanctuary, strictly single-family home or duplex developments, and market value is my anticipation. Now, once you purchase that property and who you decide to rent out to, that is your discretion. There's no law out there that lets us get into, your personal financial dealings and how you come up with a contract arrangement to rent your property.
Todd, what's the range of this home, price-wise?
I would say Sunset Ridge is gonna be kind of comparable to what they have now, is my understanding, and then the Sanctuary is going to be taking a couple steps up from what you saw in Sunset Ridge. It's a product that they've done in Castle Hayne. A little more a low country feel, if you will. The houses are gonna be pulled up to the streets. There's gonna be, I've got a plan in my office for anybody public.
Be like a Charleston house?
Yeah, more
Some
like a
of them
Charleston
will
house,
be-
back alley loaded.
Yeah.
Nice fountains when you come
But
into the
The
project.
representative said something like the retreat that's over by Lowe's and
Right.
OIB.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's not, I guess the concerns of the public is the quote-unquote affordable housing argument, and this, in my impression, is consummate with Sea Trail and the rest of that area that they're being built next to. It's not,
Yeah, and they
it's
could
not going
have,
to affect their property values in a negative.
they certainly could have done much smaller lots and put a lot more density in that project. The minimum lot size there for single-family homes is 7,500 square feet, and there's lots in there that are approaching a half acre in size. Not all of them, obviously, but I would say probably 90% of those lots exceed minimum lot sizes here for the town, so there's going to be an increased value and cost associated with purchasing those properties.
Anything else for Todd?
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
All right.
Don't schedule meetings on.
Okay, Chief Ken.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
The packet in your, my report in your packet, I'll answer any questions if you have any on that. If not, I just want to bring, I've got a couple updates, a couple things that we're working on now. Do want to remind council and the public, here on October 30th from 5 to 6:30, we're again hosting our trunk or treat event over by the Ingram Planetarium. The event's open to the public, to anybody that wants to come out and have a good time. This is the third year we've done it, and it's been very successful the last 2 years. So we've got more participation from local nonprofits and some business owners that are going to help us out make that successful for the kiddos this year. We recently had a couple officers complete some training through the North Carolina Justice Academy. Officer Britt Buell attended a 2-week course in crime scene investigation, and Detective Jared Cox just completed a week-long school in interviews and interrogations, both free classes at the North Carolina Justice Academy. Officers are currently completing their mandatory in-service training, again through the Justice Academy. Majority of that's done online, and then we have scheduled for November mandatory firearms qualifications that have to take place at a minimum one time a year. Those are scheduled for later part of November. One project that we're working on, we've been fortunate, we've had a couple volunteers that dedicate some time to fill our records position here at the police department. Retired police officers from up north that do a really good job, spend a lot of time here organizing, maintaining records, entering parking citations and town ordinance violations. One thing that I want to do with that program, as you've probably seen, the county has a volunteer unit that has a marked car called their Voice unit, and they're seen at public events. In fact, they were at Sunset helping with traffic across the roadway. We have an older Crown Vic that we kind of use as a spare car. I'm working on some quotes now from the sign shop in Supply to remark that as a community patrol vehicle for Sunset Beach. What I'd like to see is our volunteers get out, maybe help with house checks, help with ordinance violations in the summer, and just be a more, just another set of eyes, another set of ears. And these are former police officers. They won't have any powers of arrest. Again, a volunteer unit, but another set of eyes, set of ears to report anything that they may see or hear, and just be a friendly face in the neighborhood. That's something we're looking at moving forward with here in the near future. But wanted to bring you up to date on that.
So the only cost of that program would be re-signing the car and gas
That's it.
and maintenance?
Fuel maintenance, and then just a minimal cost to the decals that are on it. Remove those, put a new set of decals on it, and then of course some policy implementation for that.
Yeah, the county's had that program, Sheriff Ingram's had that program
Yes, sir.
for many years that
Yes,
we
sir.
hope
It's-
we could try to model from.
It's widely popular, not just here. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's going to save taxpayer dollars. It puts
Yeah,
like
and
I
they
said,
patrol and,
right.
yeah.
One of the members that we have as a volunteer is also a member of the Sandpiper Bay Community Watch Group. So he's, like I said, he's a retired NYPD detective. So he's he knows what he's looking
No,
for if he's.
It's been a good program
For
for
sure.
Sheriff Ingram, a very effective
Yes.
program.
Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Finance, Tara?
I gave you what I had at the last meeting, but the one thing that is different that I do have is I have received the draft audit, but I'm going through it page by page for accuracy and making sure everything is right before I give it back to them and tell them that they can submit it. And then I have the financial report. Is there any questions on the financial reports? That's really all I have. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Terry. Okay, next up would be the dredging project special assessment service district requirements. Hiram?
Yes, sir. At the previous meeting, we informed y'all that we'd get y'all basically the step-by-step process for which to do an assessment project per the general statutes. So in your packet, you've got a very detailed breakdown of this. I will not be reading in public. It's, several pages. Ultimately, the process, though, is, as we've explained to y'all, setting up the preliminary resolution, developing a public hearing, creating the intent to move forward resolution. Once the project is done, we come back with the full project cost, then you do that assessment resolution, then we hold a public hearing, then y'all make the final okay on moving forward with that assessment resolution. So once y'all have decided to partake in the project, hold the public hearing, then you can make your intentions known how to do the assessment. But this breaks down everything. Lisa got y'all the laws, putting this packet. It's all here for your review and understanding and codification.
I'd just like to say, Lisa, you did a great job.
Yes, thank you very much.
Byron, not so much.
No, probably not. Any questions on this? I mean, it's a very lengthy, detailed process, but I tried to break it down to those minute bullet points, but is there a question on any of that sections?
It's all detailed, it's all very involved. Just to let the people know, there are 23 pages that go through that process to take it from start to finish. So anybody having trouble sleeping, it's available online.
Anything else, Hiram?
Not unless you've got questions on this specific.
Does anybody else have anything on there?
No.
Okay, we'll go to new business, disposition of directives.
I'd like to go ahead and add on the 4th Street, Rock Road, whatever we'll call it, for the next meeting.
Will you have all the information by then?
I'll have as much as I can get to make a determination as far as costs and everything, but longevity and...
So it's still a work in progress type, you're still doing research?
Yeah,
I
we're
just
still doing
wanna get
research
that.
now, but we should
I
have
just
most of
want-
those questions answered by
Yeah.
the time we make the agenda item.
That's fine.
Okay, do you want to have that on
11-4.
11-4? Okay, number 1, Sunset Soundways report and discussion is for 11-4.
Yep.
That's still on. Waste Industries is a go for the 19th of November.
As far as I've been told, he's still good for that.
Okay. 19th, we're still getting the Beach Patrol report from the chief.
Yep.
And the ERC initial report, do we have a date on that yet?
I hope, like I said, next week's gonna be their kickoff meeting to establish their schedule of when they'll be meeting. Hopefully there'll be something they meet in November and discuss. We can hopefully have that at the December meeting.
Okay.
Keeping in mind that November and December become the holiday months, and these people already probably have their calendars full, so hopefully we can schedule something, get some work done, and have at least a in-progress report to y'all in December.
Okay. Okay.
I do want to make sure they have enough time, starting over again, pretty much from scratch. I don't envy them.
That's why I say in progress, because I'm pretty sure nothing will be fully fleshed out, researched, and move forward ready for discussion. But I think the intent is just to know where they're going to be at and making sure they're on the right track for what they want to be, what y'all want them to be looking at.
Get a sense of what they think is a
Right.
work plan for the future.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it for the directives. Public comments? Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
Good morning again. I'm Glenn Evans, 1201 North Shore Drive. And I met with you guys the last council meeting here on, and I appreciate the two council members that indicated they were coming out to look at my problem at Endicobia. And I thank you for doing that. I've spoken to one of them. At the last council meeting, I asked the question of when we were going to start repair on this. I thank you for having the hole filled up, because I understand it was done the next morning after the meeting, actually before the council people could get out there. And I don't really understand that, but I'm thankful that it was corrected. The issue I have going forward, though, there's been dirt put in the hole, or it's been filled up with sand, but has it corrected, is it gonna correct anything going forward? I mean, there's 4 streets on Canal right there. There's Dolphin, Sailfish, Cobia, and Marlin. And 3 of those streets have drainage on them. 3 of those streets have drain tiles and drain out through the bulkhead. I'm not understanding why Cobia doesn't. You indicated the last time, Hiram, that an assessment was done and drainage was not necessary. I'd like to see the assessment that was done.
It's in is it in your, Dustin's office or yours? We have it here.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I'd like to see that, and I'd like for you guys, if you haven't, to see that as to why that was not, why that has not been addressed as far as drainage on the end of that road. You asked the question, Mayor, about when the bulkhead was, when the property, or I think John, or you asked about when we have contacted Brian Grice. We're on his schedule to have it repaired, but we couldn't repair it when because he's been contacted over a week ago, 10 days ago. We couldn't repair it till you guys got your side prepared, or repaired. But it was my understanding in talking to John that day out there, when we talked to Brian Grice, that there was gonna be something done between the road and, we were told a maritime engineer had to become involved. I think that's, Hiram, you said that we had to get a maritime engineer to determine how we were gonna fix this thing at the end before we could repair it. Am I not correct, John? That statement was made?
I'm sorry, I don't recall that.
Okay, all right. But anyway,
I think I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I said we'd have to get an
'Cause
engineer
we-
for bulkhead design
exactly.
at more than 5 foot. And we have talked to Cam about the need, if we could put a bulkhead there, but we also need to go ahead and get the whole filled so there's no damage to the road. So that
Okay.
work was gonna get done last week regardless.
you were gonna do it last week.
Fill the road.
Oh, you did feel it?
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying.
you-
That was
you
getting done
indicated to this-
regardless.
You indicated to the council that it was on schedule for 2 weeks.
Within 2
away,
weeks.
but you got there quicker. And
Yep.
and like I said, I thank you for doing that. The main concern I have basically is what are we doing going forward to not have another event? If I fix my bulkhead, which you indicated there's multiple bulkheads blown out. The ones I saw and we rode and looked are blown out from the top, not from the bottom. The ones across the street from me are coming from the top end, both of those. Mine blew out from the bottom. Why did it blow out from the bottom? We're talking about dredging the canal, which is silting up, which should secure the bulkhead more. But when it was on low tide and all this water coming down the street, there's a blowout from the bottom. We don't have any proof of that, but that's it's common sense. Anyway, the only thing I'm concerned about now is going forward. to not have this situation happen again, that we're going through the same process we're here. And I only see one way, is that stormwater's got to get off that road. There were 11.34 inches of rain in that event in a 24-hour period at that GPS location at the end of that road. 11.34. We indicated earlier that it was not a rain event, but 11.34 inches over 24 hours is a rain event. So there was a lot of water that pushed down that road. And with nowhere to go except over that bulkhead, I mean, I don't understand, and I just like your response or whatever as to how we're going to correct the drainage on it.
If you want to know real quick, that has been discussed with the engineers who designed the project. Because the road that was already there was considered impervious, CAMA didn't feel there was a need for additional stormwater controls. Plus, the analysis showed that without filling up about 24 inches, we couldn't do stormwater regardless because we'd be in the water table with the boxes. We wouldn't be able to have the 2-foot separation between the water table and the storm infiltration. As to why Cobia doesn't have it, I don't have a clue. The reason the other streets have it is they were permitted before CAMA. We can't do outfall pipes anymore into those canals.
Hiram, can I ask you a question? Because I get a little confused sometimes. Before we paved Cobia Street, we went through all kinds of engineering
Yep.
studies, CAMA, and every other government agency that you can think of. And no one could forecast this issue?
They all said it wasn't necessary.
They all say it wasn't necessary.
Correct. Because it was already an impervious surface there.
But, you know, once we paved it, it wasn't gonna be impervious. Did you
That's
realize
true.
that?
No, it wasn't pervious, it was impervious before. It was so compacted, it was considered impervious.
Oh, it was, okay.
That's why it's also the base of the road.
Okay. Well, I'm just concerned going forward because everything, you can go to that street and pour water in the middle of that street with a bucket and everything runs my side.
We can figure out some way to try to berm up, but what I'm saying is we can't discharge into that canal. That's not allowed state law any further.
Okay, so we just need, I mean, where's stormwater drainage going to that's coming off of my property? I mean, when you guys required me to permit to build.
You
and
should
have
have,
a
you should
stormwater
have an
plan.
infiltration system with as much impervious surface as you have on your property to handle anything over 30%. The rest of it goes into the right-of-way until it can filter in.
Okay.
That's the way it's intended to be designed over there. But that's because, while we've got the plan moving forward, we're trying to make improvements, but this is a known issue all over the island. The bulkhead blowing out at the bottom or the top, most of those are actually from the bottom, as you can see it down the street, it's across from 16th Street, that's a bottom blowout as well. But without having been there and standing there, nobody knows what happened. Could have been high tide, most likely, it could have been low tide. Nobody knows. But as far as it being direct result of the runoff, nobody knows. But we installed per all of our permits by the state agencies, and work was done and inspected by engineers.
Okay. Well, going forward, I'm fine with that because we're going to repair it. But going forward, I just want it noted that if damage occurs again, that, you know, and it's coming from your side or from the public side again, that we, you know, I just want that on record that there'll be, you know, we'll go a different route. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
My name is Tony DeMart. I reside at Sandpiper Bay. I am very concerned about
Your address, please.
7505 Moorhen Lane, Sunset Village. 54B is the address. I'm very concerned about our main entrance, Old Georgetown Road. There is a sharp curve heading south. That traffic flies on that road. I have been almost hit 3 times just pulling out. I would like to thank our police department for more patrol cars. Thank you, Chief. Now they're going to build over 300 units at Jaguar's Lair, and it's going to get much worse. Somebody's going to get killed. I've seen 4 accidents there. I've been there 18 years. I really hope the committee can do something about this. The speed limit is much too high. I think it's 45. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir, coming.
That part of, the new sanctuary development
Yeah,
will not access that road.
Not
at
unless
this
someone
point in
opens
time.
Angel's Trace. At this
Yeah,
point,
at this point in
it's
time.
intended to access down to Sunset Boulevard and Seaside. But Georgetown itself is also a state highway, and we have zero authority over it. We can make a request. In fact, I have requested DOT speed limit changes, denied, and we've also requested turn lane options for Sandpiper Bay, which is also denied. Even with us helping to fit the bill, it was also denied. They just, according to NCO DOT's Raleigh offices, not their local offices, there's not been enough accidents to warrant a change. But we are aware of the situation. We are trying to do something about it.
Speed limit is 55, isn't it?
Speed limit is 55.
Yeah, so be careful coming out.
How are you?
Good. I'm John Farrell. I live at 624 Oyster Bay Drive, Sunset Beach. I had a thought. I agree with Paul. I'm concerned about this extra bathroom issue. So why don't we make it a spare? And when you take one out for repair, put another one in. Right now, we have a real long period of time when there's really no accessible bathroom for particularly the senior citizens that go up to the beach. I don't know if it would be possible, but when we get a new one, refurbish the old one and have it available on an exchange basis when they have to go through their rehabbing of those things. It's just my thought.
Thank you, John. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Larry Fabry, 508 East Main on the island. I've been an owner there for 38 years with my family. My permanent address is 11612 West 101st Terrace, Overland Park, Kansas. Unfortunately, we only get down here a few weeks in the spring and the fall. I would like to get here more, and that may be happening. I wanted to speak about dredging. Before I do that, I wanted to let you know that we appreciate that the 23 pages are published on the website, and we can read those, and the YouTube videos. So it feels like I know you, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to associate a face with a name. I've copied you on one of the messages that I sent to either Mr. Davis, Mr. Trumley, some of the other messages about dredging. I'm not anti-dredging. I think those who need access to the canals ought to maintain the same sort of access that they've had in the past. What I object to is the potential for placement in front of my property between 5th and 12th. There is absolutely no need for beach renourishment there. In the 38 years we've had the property, it's about twice as far to the beach now as it once was, and that continues to happen every year. It could be that after Matthew last year, if somebody walked along there and they saw the dunes chopped off, they thought it needed beach renourishment, but that's absolutely not the case. There is no need. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dick Tesh. I live at 510 Woods Court, Sunset Beach. And I had two questions with maybe these 23 pages might actually give me the answers to. But the first one dealt with an article from the Brunswick Beacon where Gary Merritt indicated that the town has already spent $600,000 on on the dredging project. And I think I saw in here that legal fees are going to be included in the final amount that the property owners will be assessed. So that is, I'm assuming, is a moot point as far as.
All fees associated with the project, necessary legal, engineering, design, consultation, all of that.
Okay. Second question I had dealt with, again, according to the Brunswick Beacon, Councilman Nern and Mayor Pro Tem Benton emphatically indicated that impacted
owners will pay. And I haven't heard anything from the other, or read anything from the other council members. Again, publishing this kind of a document, are we in a position where they are in agreement with this document, or is this thing still up in the air as far as actually a vote that might have to take place for the whole project to occur?
This document is just the law regarding how they have to move forward. They can't make that final decision official until they follow these processes. So it's not a determination of a vote yet. It just tells them what options are available to them. They can either, it gives them the process to set that assessment, who's going to pay. Moving forward, the intention of this council and the previous council has always been affected property owners.
Okay.
But that can't be legally binding until they follow this process.
I would like to make a comment, please.
There has been a resolution to that effect, yes.
Sorry, excuse me.
I would like to point out that anything that this council does cannot tie the hands of a future council. Whatever this council decides can be undone by a future council. That is the law.
So you're telling me come November's election, if some of you are no longer here, this whole project is
Could change.
up in the air again?
Mr. Mayor.
And the people that are going to end up having to pay might be more than the impacted property owners.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Sir, there's nobody on this council, there's nobody on the last council, and there's going to be nobody on the next council that's going to vote for the ordinary citizens to pay for dredging. There's going to be no vote where ordinary citizens, those not affected by the dredging project, are going to pay for future maintenance dredging. Now, that's one of the problems with all these rumors and misinformation out there. You are not going to pay, I'm not going to pay.
I understand that, and I appreciate that, but I have not heard from the other three members of the council agreeing with you.
We did a resolution as
Okay.
a council that was unanimous, that at least expressed our intent that the property owners would be the ones paying, the property owners for the waterfront properties.
Okay.
Now, that is, as you pointed out in here, and as Councilwoman Harris pointed out, the next council can have a different intent. But so far, nobody has expressed a different alternative than the property owners paying for the dredging.
I appreciate that piece of information because I was certainly not aware of it, and we'll just have to wait and see where the election goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes the public comments. Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.